I guess I just wasn't meant for it. That's the sentence. The silent poison, the spell you cast on yourself with your own mouth and then wonder why the walls keep closing in. It sounds harmless, even humble, but what you've really said is, I surrender. I'm not worthy. The pain of hope costs more than the comfort of despair. You didn't fail, you submitted. And the worst part, you learned to do it young, before you had the words to question it. Because back then, when your hands were small and your world was loud, someone made you feel like desire was dangerous, like wanting something too badly made you foolish, like dreaming was a setup and trying was a kind of humiliation. So you buried it, you buried the wanting. But the thing about the unconscious is, it never forgets where the body hid the bones. And now, years later, when you whisper, I guess it just wasn't meant for me, what you're really saying is, I'd rather lose myself than lose again. Freud didn't call that a choice. He called it a defense mechanism, a strategy the mind uses to protect you from pain by making sure you never get close enough to feel it again. But here's the trap. The more you protect yourself from pain, the more you unconsciously expect it. And that expectation, it starts shaping your world. You stop applying, you stop speaking up, you stop showing up like you matter, and then the failure arrives, not as punishment, but as prophecy. This is how the unconscious wins, because it doesn't care what you say you want. It only listens to what you believe you deserve. So when you tell yourself, I guess I wasn't meant for it, you're not just describing your life, you're designing it. And worse, you're obeying a ghost. Someone who once made you feel like your hunger was too much, your voice was too loud, your dreams were a joke. But let me ask you, whose words are you still hearing? Whose disappointment are you still rehearsing? It's not your voice, is it? It's theirs, but you wear it like skin. This is what Freud meant by introjection, the way we swallow other people's beliefs about us and then build our lives around them. They don't even have to be here anymore. They don't have to shout, because you're doing it for them now. Every time you doubt, every time you retreat, every time you whisper that one line, I guess I wasn't meant for it. But what if the real reason you haven't broken through has nothing to do with ability, talent, intelligence, or timing, and everything to do with a war inside you between the part that wants and the part that fears the wanting? Freud believed that human suffering comes from conflict between drives. You want to win and you want to hide. You want to be seen and you want to be safe. You want freedom and you want protection. And so you self-sabotage. You ghost your own life. You dim the lights on your own stage, because it's safer to say you were never meant for it than to feel the grief of giving everything you had and watching it still fall apart. That's the truth we avoid. Not failure, but the heartbreak of trying. But listen to me and listen carefully. The unconscious does not care about your comfort. It cares about your patterns. And it will keep dragging you back into the same loop, the same disappointment, the same exact outcome, until you stop calling it fate and start calling it repetition compulsion. Yes, Freud had a name for this too. He believed we repeat emotional wounds, not because we're broken, but because we're trying to master them, to return to the place where it all went wrong and this time do it right. But here's the tragedy. We don't return stronger, we return scared. And so we recreate the same ending again and again and again, until we wake up, until we ask, what lie am I still living? Whose voice am I still obeying? What dream did I kill in order to be accepted? Because failure is not your enemy. Loyalty to your wound is. And the longer you say, I guess I wasn't meant for it, the longer you live like a ghost in your own life. There's a moment, quiet and small, where the mind betrays you with mercy, where it whispers, it's okay, you didn't really want it anyway. And just like that, you amputate another piece of yourself in the name of emotional survival, not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered too much. This is repression, not forgetting but hiding, not healing, but burying the wound deep enough that even you forget it's there. But your body remembers, your hesitation remembers, your nervous system flinches before every leap because it doesn't believe in safety anymore, only in silence. Freud said the unconscious is like a darkroom where old desires, memories, and traumas develop. But what happens when the light never comes on? What happens when the thing you swore you were over still decides every move you make? You call it instinct. You call it gut feeling. But it's not your intuition. It's your trauma rehearsing the past and calling it wisdom. So you shrink. You stop asking for more. You wear humility like armor, but inside you're burning with resentment for a life that feels like a half-finished sentence. And here's the truth you keep trying to ignore. You're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of what success would demand of you. Because success isn't just a result, it's a reckoning. It asks you to leave the familiar. It asks you to confront every lie you've ever told yourself about why you're not enough. It means you'd have to stop blaming the past. You'd have to stop hiding behind the old stories. You'd have to become someone you've never dared to be. And that terrifies you. So instead, you say the words, the magic spell that keeps you small. I guess it wasn't meant for me. No risk. No pain, no confrontation, just quiet regret, soft failure, the kind that doesn't make a sound but lingers like a sickness in the chest. You scroll, you smile for the camera, you tell people you're figuring things out. But the truth is, you're grieving the life you never gave yourself permission to want. And the worst part, no one sees it, because you've gotten so good at pretending that even you believe the act. This is the tyranny of the ego, the part of you that Freud said spends its entire existence mediating between your desires and your fear of punishment. It wants to please everyone. It wants to be accepted. So it tells you to be quiet, to be grateful, to stop asking for more. But underneath the surface, the id is still screaming. That primal part of you that wants, that craves, that knows what it was born for, it's alive. And it's angry. And do you know what happens when you ignore that voice for too long? You start to decay, not your body, your spirit. You lose the spark. You feel empty even when you're winning. You sabotage things just to feel something. You call the wrong people. You stay in dead jobs. You chase the same heartbreak because at least that feels familiar. This isn't failure. This is a funeral, not for your potential, but for your connection to it. But here's the thing about the unconscious. It leaks. It bleeds through. It acts out. If you don't give it voice, it finds another way to speak. Through your anxiety, through your rage, through your random breakdowns that always seem to come right before you were about to make a move. That's not coincidence. That's your past trying to protect itself. Because deep down, you still believe the story someone else wrote for you. You still think you're too much, too sensitive, too needy, too broken, too late. But who told you that? Who taught you to be afraid of your own greatness? Who made you feel like desire was shameful, like ambition was arrogance, like asking for more meant you were ungrateful? Because that's the lie, that's the infection. And every time you whisper, I guess I wasn't meant for it, you feed it. You keep it alive. You make it real. But what if you stopped? What if you let the unconscious speak? What if you let yourself want without shame? What if you let the old voices scream and then walked away from them anyway? Because here's what they never told you. Wanting something does not make you weak. Failing at something does not mean you weren't meant for it. And surviving something does not mean you have to keep reliving it. You don't owe your pain anything. Not loyalty, not silence, not surrender. And that voice in your head that tells you to lower your expectations, that's not wisdom. That's a wound masquerading as realism. You learned early on that needing too much got you hurt. That being loud got you scolded. That asking for love the wrong way made people pull away from you. So you internalized it, like a child swallowing glass, telling yourself it's candy because that's what the adults called it. And now you're grown, but you're still chewing broken promises and calling it being realistic. Freud didn't speak in affirmations. He didn't say, believe in yourself. He said, you are being run by forces you do not understand. That what you call personality might just be a pattern you developed to survive someone else's chaos. So when you say, I guess it wasn't for me, what you're really saying is, I'm still afraid to want something I might lose. You don't know how to want without bracing for pain. You don't know how to succeed without imagining the fall. So you pre-reject yourself. You leave before anyone can abandon you. You downplay the dream so it won't sting when it slips away. But here's the tragedy. You're not protecting yourself. You're repeating the wound. You're parenting yourself the way you were parented, with fear, with doubt, with silence. You think you're being humble, but really, you're just hiding. You say, "It's fine, I'm fine." But Freud would call that a defense mechanism. You're not fine, you're numb. And that's not the same thing. Numbness is not peace. It's not healing. It's not maturity. It's the price you pay when you bury everything that ever hurt you instead of grieving it out loud. Because here's the thing, you did want it. That dream, that love, that moment, you still do. But it got tangled in shame, in the memory of the last time you tried and got laughed at or ghosted or punished. And now, every time it rises again, you kill it before it has a chance to breathe. That's not fate. That's not the universe closing doors. That's you. That's the part of you still trying to avoid humiliation by never stepping into the light at all. Because light reveals everything, doesn't it? The cracks, the hunger, the truth. And the truth is this: you're afraid of being seen. Not the version you curate, the strong one, the self-aware one, the unbothered, healing era version of you. No, you're afraid of them seeing the real you, the one who still cries in secret, the one who's tired of pretending, the one who still wants things you don't feel worthy of wanting. But listen closely. That version of you, the one who still aches, still hungers, still dreams, that's the part of you that's still alive. That's not weakness. That's your humanity. That's the flame they tried to put out and failed. Because no matter how many times you whisper, "Maybe it just wasn't for me," your unconscious keeps fighting for it. It shows up in your dreams, in the way your chest tightens when someone else gets the thing you said you didn't want, in the tears that come when you're not even sure why you're crying. It's all trying to tell you the same thing. You're not done. You're not over it. You're not beyond it. You're not broken for still wanting it. You're human, and you are carrying an unbearable amount of unspoken longing. So maybe the real shift isn't about saying, "I deserve success." Maybe it starts with saying, "I'm done lying about what I want." No more half-hearted goals. No more pretending you don't care. No more pushing it down until your body screams loud enough to make you listen. Because if you don't own your hunger, you will chase it in secret. You'll resent those who have what you want. You'll self-destruct in private and call it destiny. But it's not destiny, it's a decision. A quiet daily decision to either let the past script your future or to write something new. And yes, it's terrifying to want again, to try again, to admit, "I still believe in this." Because it opens you up to loss, to judgment, to failure. But it also opens you up to life, to beauty, to becoming someone you can finally recognize in the mirror. Not the shadow, not the mask, but you, unfiltered, unhidden, unapologetically alive. You were never meant to dim your light to keep others comfortable. You were never meant to starve your spirit because someone told you hunger was impolite. You were never meant to settle for what's safe when your soul was built for what's sacred. So when you hear that voice, the one that says, "Maybe I wasn't meant for it," pause, breathe, and ask it, "Who taught you to give up on me?" Because that voice isn't truth. It's memory. It's grief. It's a scar speaking louder than the skin around it. But it is not you. There's something haunting about silence. Not the peaceful kind. Not the kind that settles over a mountain at dawn or drapes a room just before sleep. No, this silence is loud. It rings inside your chest like an unanswered question. It creeps in after you say, "Maybe I wasn't meant for more," and nothing in you rises to fight back. That's not peace. That's resignation. That's your unconscious giving up the fight because your conscious mind keeps pulling the plug. Freud called it death drive, but maybe for you it just feels like giving up on yourself before life gets the chance to. Because what hurts more than failure is hope. And you've learned to treat hope like a loaded gun, dangerous, volatile, best kept locked away. But here's the paradox. You cannot fail at something you never let yourself want. And yet, you're suffering anyway. The pain you're trying to avoid is the pain you're already living in. You've just given it a name you can stomach. "I'm just not meant for that life." It's not in the cards. Some people are lucky. I'm not one of them. But luck didn't stop you. Fear did. Fear that if you admitted what you truly wanted in love, in work, in meaning, you'd have to face how long you've been living without it. And that grief, it would crack something wide open. You think you're afraid to fail, but what you're really afraid of is finding out just how long you've been abandoning yourself. Because once you see that, you can't go back. You can't unknow the cost. You can't unhear the sound of your own voice whispering truths you weren't ready to say out loud. Like, I still want to be chosen. I still want to be proud of myself. I still want to feel like I'm really here. Because numbness is not living. A paycheck isn't passion. And silence is not self-respect. It's the noise you make when you're too afraid to scream. So here's what I'll ask you gently. Are you ready to listen? Not to me, to you. To the version of you buried beneath years of survival, who never stopped hoping even when you stopped trying. To the little kid inside who once said, I want to be amazing, before someone laughed and made you believe that being ordinary was safer. Freud believed that healing comes when the unconscious becomes conscious, when the wound sees the light and stops pretending to be personality. You are not lazy. You are not unmotivated. You are not fine without it. You are protecting yourself from a past that already happened and a future you haven't dared to imagine. And the only way out is through the shame, through the grief, through the aching memory of every time you tried and it didn't work. Because trying again, fully, unapologetically, is not weak. It is the bravest thing you will ever do. Not because you're guaranteed to win, but because you've stopped letting fear have the final word. So next time you hear that voice, that low, familiar whisper that says, don't even bother, it's not for people like you. Don't argue with, don't rationalize, don't fight back. Just say this, I see you, I know where you come from, but you don't get to drive anymore. Then take one step. One tiny, terrifying, holy step toward what you actually want. Write the email, make the call, sign your name on the dotted line of your own damn life. Because no one's coming to rescue you from the story you keep rewriting as a tragedy. And the villain, it's not fate, it's not bad luck, it's not the people who didn't believe in you. It's the voice inside that you gave a throne to, the one that says, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Tear down that throne. Let that voice grieve, but don't let it lead. Because here's what they won't tell you, failure isn't the enemy, it's the doorway. And self-abandonment, that's the real death sentence. So wake up, not with rage, not with desperation, but with clarity. You are not here to shrink, to settle, to explain yourself into irrelevance. You are here to want boldly, to risk foolishly, to try again even with trembling hands. Say it out loud. I want more. That's not selfish, that's sacred. And every time you say it, you chip away at the lie that kept you small for so long. So if this hits something in you, that deep, silent ache you keep locked behind your ribs, don't run from it. Sit with it, write it, speak it, own it. And if you're brave enough, tell someone in the comments what's the dream you buried because you thought you had to. Because you're not alone, and you're not crazy. You're just waking up from a long, hard sleep. Hit subscribe if you're ready to stop living someone else's story. Because this time, you write the ending.